Bitcoin continues to chop sideways and downward. All coins looking pretty rough, but maybe starting to look like they could be bottoming. But that doesn't mean that you can't open some charts and find some opportunities in this market and beyond. That's exactly what I'm going to do today with Wick here on Trading Alpha. Let's go, people.
Let's go.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of All Streets. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Now let's take a look at some charts, man. Not the prettiest of markets at the moment.
Not the prettiest of markets. Looks like liquidity is kind of fading a little bit here. This is the rough part where everyone kind of questions whether the bull market is to continue or whether it's done. So let's jump into it, Scott. But I'll tell you what, before we jump into the Bitcoin chart, let's look at something a little bit more fun. Let's go and look at Tone. Okay, so Tone is one of the only assets in the crypto market right now that is absolutely killing it. We're hearing a lot of hype about this. So I thought I would just go ahead and dissect this chart live for you guys. So as you can see here, here's the regular candlesticks. This is just regular price action. The first thing that I would do on this chart is I would look and I would identify a basing, and this is a basing pattern right here, right? And I know this is in hindsight, but this will teach you guys on what to look out for. So I would draw a little resistance at the base, okay? And you can see that's a pretty good resistance, and it can't close above there, right? So that's what you're looking for. So this is your stage one basing. At that point, once I've identified a stage one basing, I will go ahead and I'll turn on the alpha trend, okay? I would also go ahead and turn on, let's see, HTF suite, get some squeezes. And what do we see now? We see that we are in the stage one basing pattern, and we're waiting for that stage two breakout. For those of you that are new to my content, we look for a basing, and then after a basing, once it breaks out, it goes into a stage two uptrend, which is what you're trying to catch if you're a trader. This is the whole point of trading, is to try and identify these trends and try to capture the most of this trend as you can. Okay, so in hindsight here, we're looking at a basing pattern right here, but you can see how the indicators started to print green dots and eventually get green bars. This is letting you know that the trend dynamic is changing. And then we also started to have higher lows. So here's a low put in. They go and try and put in another low in the close, and it's much, much higher than the previous low. Okay, that's a higher low. So already the structure is turning a little bit bullish, and here we just are fighting this resistance until we finally break out. But we did get an indication here, the squeeze shading, letting you know that a violent move is incoming. Okay, and then shortly after, we got that breakout arrow, which actually put us into the stage two. So this is the actual best entry that you can have. And I'm not just doing that because this is where the breakout is. This is where the stage two breakout is. And there's two setups here. There's the green dot starting plus the breakout arrow from the shading, okay? Once you're in this move, guys, and the track line is green, there's a number of ways that you can look to take profit, but rather I look to read the chart, okay, to read the analysis. And what I want to read first of all and pay attention to is the trend, okay? Because I want to make sure that when this trend changes, when it starts to get weaker, that I'm out of this, right? Because Tone is obviously a very volatile asset. It's shot up out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere. It's been going for weeks, but it's very volatile, as you can see by these wicks. As soon as we start to lose a green dot on a move like this is most likely where I'm going to consider doing some risk management, possibly taking profit. But I wanted to show this one to you guys because on a relative basis in a crypto market that is weak like we're having now, it's a pretty big outlier to see price action like this. So look for this to continue higher. If I were to enter this, right, it's very obviously risky because it's obviously, you know, very oversold on a relative basis. But if I had to look for something, I'd probably draw a line in the sand right there on the weekly chart. So this is a good macro view. And I would wait for a breakout and close probably above this to re-enter, okay? And obviously I would set stop losses because we are very, very much past the ideal point of entry, which would have been the stage two, okay? Yeah. So yeah, what do you think about Tone? Have you heard about it, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the Telegram token, obviously. I mean, there's a gajillion trillion people using Telegram, and, you know, they'll be introduced to a crypto wallet via this token. So there's actually quite a lot of powerful narrative for it. Does look a bit overextended, though, for being honest. I just look at like it's been the most bullish asset. What worries me in a market like this is, first of all, I think things are bottoming, so I'm not really that worried, honestly. But what does worry me is sometimes the one that does the best is the one that takes the elevator down really fast if you fall out. You know
right.
At least for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
brief time. Like I see this on the weekly, and it hit 89.90 on RSI and making a huge bearish divergence there. And yeah,
yeah,
TCC on the weekly. So I would be I would approach it exactly as you said, but I would be,
yeah.
yeah, it's either you get a huge move up or you look to buy a nice big chunky dip.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, let me move on to the next chart. Before I do, I want to point this out. I also noticed here on the actual ideal entry, that squeeze breakout arrow. For those of you that have our tools, make sure you don't sleep on this alpha volume, because once we do get a volume bar go above the green line, this is extreme volume. This is exactly what I'm looking for here. If it's above the red line, it's high volume. If it's below, it's low volume. But I really only pay attention to everything above the green line. And you can see here that we did get a confirmation on volume right on that breakout arrow. Let's move to what something that we all know about. Let's move to Bitcoin. Okay, guys, here, because this is where the stream kind of gets a little bit kind of sad, right? So we are in this regime that I consider a basing pattern, let's say on the weekly chart. Okay, it's going sideways. I believe this is a basing pattern right under resistance. And just like Scott, I believe that we're pretty much close to bottom if this is not it. This looks like a very, very good bottoming structure. I actually like this look a lot from almost like a double bottom perspective, okay? However, we still are on the daily chart, right, which is your midterm time frame for all you swing traders, not investors. Okay, we are in a down channel. You can see I've outlined it here in this blue channel. Okay, we can see we've had multiple touches here on the bottom, and then also multiple touches on the top, and we continue to now respect this channel by bouncing right at the bottom here. Okay, so what I'm looking at is I'm seeing a bearish channel to the downside, and I'm seeing a bullish argument in support that is extremely, extremely strong. This is a very, very strong support. How it touched many times over here. I mean, this is probably the strongest support here on the board. Okay, so we have to see how this plays out. As far as our indicators go, we obviously have had, you know, a loss of dots, and then go to red dots. There's no green dots and red dots. We have a red track line. We've got red bars. I mean, it can't get any more bearish than this, giving us, you know, the signals. I mean, if we really wanted to be over analytical about this, we can go and turn on topping signals. And for those of you guys that follow our tools, you know that the ones that have circled, are the ones that have confirmed. Okay, so we had a topping signal here. We lost dots. We're in this downtrend a bit. Where are we right now? Well, this kind of concerns me, right? Breaking past this level here. Obviously, I'm concerned about the close. That's what I'm worried about. So we still have, you know, 4 hours to go here, but anywhere in this area is going to get me concerned. And obviously, anywhere closing below this area is pretty concerning, right? But I think overall, I think this will be a short-term thing. I actually like the fact that if we switch over to the dollar here, that today was the first day that we've seen this dollar right up at resistance here. This is probably, again, another one of the most important charts on the board right now, because if we do break up higher, whenever the dollar goes higher, it puts pressure on risk assets like Bitcoin. It makes it harder for Bitcoin to climb higher in price. And again, what we're seeing right now is trying to test this resistance here, but we're getting our first week here, our first day, should I say. We're actually getting a very nice rejection off of there. And you can see we're also losing green dots. So we're actually getting into a pretty good environment. Let me ask you this, Scott. Why do you think that we're selling off on Bitcoin? Do you think it has a lot to do with that, Mt. Gox?
No, I think it's just this time in the cycle, it's low volume and people start to capitulate and go into the holidays. They start to panic and they start to sell. It's not that much selling, really. I mean, I think there's some fear with Mt. Gox in Germany and the United States government. Can I offer a slightly contrary view? Because I agree with everything you said. But
I love contrary views.
when I do look at it on the daily, we had not been oversold since August. On RSI, we just hit oversold for the first time since August of 2023 when we were at 26,000. We're now oversold. RSI looking stronger, and if we get a close below this like 60,300, the odds of getting like really strong bullish divergence on a daily oversold RSI are very strong. We would of course need to see a reversal and an elbow up here on RSI, but like to get RSI back below 25 would take a hell of a move down. So that doesn't mean we can't go down quite a bit in price and RSI still make a higher low. So you don't just jump in. But I mean, that's like my favorite signal in the world, and it's now in play.
And you know, Scott, that lines up very synergistic with this zone here. You can see I have a line here, guys, for support. And this is pretty much a zone of support. So if we pull down a little further and then that brings in the buyers, like Scott's saying, because we're oversold, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because as I've said to you guys, this here, to me, is the strongest support on the board. So let's see what happens. But the probability, in my opinion, is that we do hold here too, Scott. So we're on the same
and
page.
by the way, so many altcoins look like that, but even more oversold. So that's why I kind of am starting to think we got this major panic. Things look really bad. That's usually like, dawn is day is darkest before the dawn kind of territory.
Right. No, absolutely. If you're midterm time frame or swing trader, you're not in any trades. Me and my investing standpoint, Scott, I'm like you. I've been holding a lot of my positions, so still really big believer in this. Let's move to Ethereum. Let's talk about Ethereum here. Last time we were on the show here, I talked about how Bitcoin had pulled back all the way right to these levels here and made a whole retrace. While Ethereum kind of had some good relative strength, the pullback was more shallow. It wasn't all the way down to the lows from before. So just going over Ethereum, because I know there's a lot of hype about it. I don't like the fact that we're losing green dots and we are falling below this support over here. But maybe that just means that we get closer to retesting a little double bottom, which would be very, very healthy. One of my favorite plays, Scott, is actually double bottoms within bull markets. That is actually one of my favorite plays ever. So let's see how Ethereum works out, but it's still looking relatively really strong, still holding green bars, not going to red bars, and well away from the track line. So still very healthy. I think this is, again, just like Bitcoin, another base, and they're going to move in tandem.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's talk about something else positive again. Okay, I don't know what the hell is happening with stocks. Actually, I know what's happening with stocks. It's stage 2 breakout at all-time highs. I've been talking about Qs, and Scott and I were just talking about it before we jumped on live here. What's your opinion of the NASDAQ, Scott? It's taken off.
I just like being able to make the argument over and over again that Bitcoin's not correlated, because you can't have Bitcoin 100 and something days into a downward chop with the market making new all-time highs over and over again. So I like it from that perspective. But I mean, yeah, we have a new all-time high close today, right? I mean, it closed because it was a half day. So it closed over 486, and it closes at the top of the candle. I mean, it just looks insanely strong. And what somebody pointed out, maybe it was Dan from Chart Guys last week, he was like, Nvidia had that dip, pretty big dip, and that was what people thought would be the signal that the market was ready to turn over. And instead, all that money literally went into like Amazon and such, which made new all-time highs. So just,
right.
I mean, people are not leaving tech just because Nvidia is dropping is a pretty bullish signal.
Well, Scott, where's the other trade at? It has to be in tech.
Metals, I guess, if you're bored.
Yeah. I mean, this looks amazing. I mean, look at this channel here that we formed that we've kind of respected a little bit. If I had to probably made on a different time frame, something like that. I mean, this channel is just ridiculous. Very rarely do you see a market where, you do see markets in bull markets where you keep making channels, but normally what happens is you have an up channel and then you have a little bit of a blow off. And then the next channel actually is most times not as steep as the channel before, right? Until you kind of have a little of a basing pattern or a bear market, right? What's interesting here is that, and I think this obviously has to do with just breaking out to all-time highs again and just the narrative, but I mean, look how steep this channel is compared to the last two. So yeah, very bullish, Scott. And this weekly candle here, just so strong. So guys, this is very bullish. When you see relative strength like this, it's hard just not to miss it. So I'm in Qs myself. I just wanted to point that out. And also RSI, I use RSI also another way too, and Scott's familiar with this, is, I look at the midpoint, and a lot of times in a bull market, the RSI will spend most of its life on the upper half here between the midpoint and just oscillating up and down over here. Whereas a bear market, it's normally at the bottom here, right? So we're still looking very, very bullish over here on the Qs, but I did want to touch on that because it's just an asset class that I'm in, and I wanted to talk about it. So moving on to metals. So metals have been having an absolutely great day today. Let's talk and start with gold, the most popular metal. Obviously, we're getting a bottom signal here, guys, with a green dot. That means that this bottom is confirmed. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's 100% going to go up, but in our setups, this is a confirmed bottom. Because why? The trend is showing us a green dot, letting us know that the bottom has been put in, and the trend is confirming that, yes, that was in fact the bottom. Okay. Again, we'll wait and see, because we do have a resistance here that's very important. That's why I've drawn this resistance. In fact, I think to me, this would be what I would consider a breakout into continuation stage 2. So we had our basing stage 1 here. You can see that I've labeled it. Stage 2 starts above this line here. This is normally how I do my charts for you guys that want to give me a follow. You break above this line right here. You go into stage 2. Okay, you can see we're above a green track line. As long as the track line is green, we're above it. That's good news. Good news, bulls. Then we break below it and we start going up and above it, up and below it. This is known as a stage 3 basing pattern, okay? Until we find a resistance that we just really can't break above and it starts to come really hard, right? And I think that's this one right here. So breaking above that line would start a continuation stage 2, in my opinion. And if you wanted to be absolutely sure, you would wait a little bit longer and you would wait for a breakout above that level. Okay, so one of these levels is what the market is watching for stage 2, but we do have a bullish setup that's starting to test these levels here. Okay, so I wanted to point that out in metals today. If you're going to be playing metals, the way that I play metals is, I'm a little bit of a greedy person sometimes, so I like to look at the miners. CDE has always been one of my favorite mining stocks to go to whenever metals start popping. And here you can see here that we're showing very, very strong bullish consolidation, and we're even starting to get a little bit of a breakout above these levels. Of course, on this level breakout here, I'm watching the close because it started from a close. So I'll be looking for this to close in 2 days, as you can see here, 2 days until this closes. If it closes above these levels, again, this has been a very good place for me. It would be considered a continuation stage 2. You had your stage 1 basing pattern here above stage 2, and here is your consolidation waiting to, stage 2 uptrend, stage 3 basing. Now you're waiting to break out into continuation stage 2. And again, 2 days until we get the close. So watch that one, guys. We do have good signals there. And we do have a nice volume bar over here as well. And RSI is respecting the bullish line on the midpoints. Okay, so I like that one too, guys. Moving on to copper. I had to point this one out too. Copper did have a green dot, so it just actually lost the green dot because it's pulled back a little bit today. But I want to watch that one for this week because copper is always a good indication on how the economy is doing as well. And we also are above the midpoint on the RSI there, okay? Now, guys, I've now gone through cryptocurrencies, the sentiment on the market, some kind of things to gauge macro. Now let's go into some of the chart requests and we'll finish off with something from the Alpha Screener. So looking at costs, okay, Caspa is another chart that somebody requested and they wanted me to analyze this chart, okay? So I'm assuming that they're either in Caspa and they're wondering whether they should get out or not, okay? So let's talk about their position. That means that they've got in somewhere and they're most likely in a lot of profits, but they're now seeing that Caspa hit a high and now it's pulling back this week and they're wondering, what should I do? Okay, so a lot of times when it pulls back off highs, I will go over the last pivot point, which is right here, and I will look for something called a logical place to retest a logical place before a continuation, okay? And it is retesting it, but it is breaking below a little bit. Crypto is a little bit volatile, so I would have my stop loss set somewhere here, and obviously if you have our tools, obviously I would wait for some type of setup as well. But this looks like it's breaking out into stage 2. It looks like it's forming a consolidation stage 3 and possibly wanting to break out into stage 2. So watch this area, watch this line in the sand. If we do continue, and this is just a little bit of a deviation, then this is going to be a good play as well. But again, I think everything's waiting to see how the market reacts. But Caspa seems like it's been outperforming a lot of this bull market, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. And again, I do like the fact that we're testing a continuation stage 2 here, even though we're just now dipping below it today.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one here, guys. I saw this chart request. It's not often you guys catch me off guard. I have been watching Tesla for fucking forever. And I've been watching this downtrend line and telling everyone, don't buy with the downtrend line. And we're now finally breaking above my white final boss downtrend line that we've had forever. Holy shit. So I'll be looking to get into this position, guys. This is the type of stuff that I like. This is a very good high probability setup. You can see that we do have 2 consecutive green dots off of a confirmed bottom. A great setup. You can see how it played out here. Bottom signal, green dot, confirm the bottom, shot up. But this time we're actually breaking through again. Not to beat a drum, but this is very, very bullish. This is the most bullish dynamic that we've had since November 2021. So what's your thoughts on Tesla, Scott?
I agree. I mean, then now you wonder why tech is flying. I hadn't seen the Tesla chart, but that's got to be a big part of it.
Right. No, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense. And that gets me excited, because I don't know if you know this, Scott, but Ellen is another one of us South Africans, man. He's from South Africa. So I got to reel him on.
We all know this.
But anyways, guys, okay, so one more thing. Let's look at our new tool. This is the screener from Trading Alpha. I thought it was going to be out actually the last couple of days. We're adding a few more things to it. It'll be out. The release date is going to be the 8th of this month. Let's look at how it works. So let's say we want to find something today. Let's say we're looking at cryptocurrencies. Let's say we're going to look at the daily chart, which is going to be tough because nothing was up today. But let's say we wanted to find a needle in a haystack. I'm not sure if we're going to find it, okay, but let's look for one green dot on the daily chart on cryptocurrencies, one green dot starting, okay, and it looks like I ran it there. There it is, Honey USD. Okay, so we click Honey USD, and let's see what this chart looks like.
Yeah. Look at that.
Okay, look at that. Let's look at that. Very nice. So we're seeing here that Honey USD has been through a stage 4 downtrend, okay, or it has been going through a stage 4 downtrend. When we go through this downtrend, guys, and we have red dots and red bars and we're below a red track line, you never buy this no matter what. And for those of you new to my charts here or new to watching the Trading Alpha show, these bottom signals need a green dot to be confirmed. So none of these are confirmed, okay? This one, you know, maybe got rejected at the track line, but what we really want is a bottom signal, green dot. And when it's this shallow to the track line, we want to break above the track line and close. And that looks like exactly what we're getting here. And here's our first green dot above a red track line, and the track line is turning green. So let's give this until close, okay, another 4 hours. But if this closes here, this will be the first close above the track line. This is a very bullish setup. And again, we found this needle in a haystack today while everything was down by using the new Trading Alpha screener. So with that said, guys, I want to kind of sign off here. If you do want these tools, if these look kind of good to you and you want to have a good edge on the market, head to the comment section and there's a link there. We have a 25% off sale. So when you're checking out, check out the Alpha Bundle yearly. And during checkout on the left-hand side, guys, if you type in 25 off, 25 OFF, it'll drop the price by 25%.
Do it right into the holiday, man.
Right
I can't stop with this bullish divergence. If I get that, I'm gonna be real excited.
Yeah. No. You are the king of RSI divergences, Scott.
Yeah, you wait so long. Hasn't even gotten oversold in 11 months. You know,
Right.
and I mean, for anyone who's wondering, by the way, if you needed a signal for the top when it happened, let me just take a gander at this. We got overbought. And then it made a lower high on RSI at the dead top of the market.
Boom, look at that.
Bearish divergence for the very top, just in case you're wondering. They're all over the place. All right, I'll let you go, man. That's it. Hey, guys, check out the indicators, for God's sakes. We both use them relentlessly. Saved a lot of headaches at the top for a lot of people. I can tell you that, because you took your emotions out and said, crap, this might be rolling over for a while.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me, Scott. And I can't wait to see you next week. And I hope that you enjoy your July 4th and everyone listening as well.
You guys too. Enjoy, man. Thank you. Bye, guys.
That's dope.